Hi and welcome to the second episode of Would I Buy This Again? In this episode I'll be talking about the Olympus OMD E-M5. Doesn't really have the E-M5 bit on the front, but rest assured this is the one. So in the previous episodes I talked about the Olympus EP1, which was the first Olympus Micro Four Thirds camera that came out in 2009, and that's part of the Pen series. So next to the Pen series, Olympus has made the OMD series, or is making the OMD series. It's pretty much the only series they still are making now under the name OM system. And as I told you the last time, if you've seen that video, when I first sold my EP1, I did so in order to make an upgrade to the Olympus OMD E-M5, which was the first E-M5. I have it here. I'll show you that one as well. So that's this OMD here with the battery grip, which was a camera I have really enjoyed a lot. So why did I buy this E-M5 Mark III? I bought this maybe a year ago or so, and I did so because after my buying the initial E-M5, I upgraded a while later to the EM1. I bought it second hand in 2017. And it broke down on me a few years later. The shutter kept going stuck. So yeah, there was a bit of an issue because I like going out a lot, and I didn't really have a properly working camera at the time. Not a sort of a recent one. So I was really looking for a model to replace it with. I didn't necessarily want another EM1 because there were newer models on the market at the time. There was the EM1 Mark II, and there also was the EM5 Mark II and the EM5 Mark III. So I was sort of looking around which one to get. EM1 Mark II was a bit over my budget at the time, and the EM5 Mark III seemed the best option at the time, so that's what I went with. So that's why I got it. So onto what I like about this camera. Its image quality is really good. While continuing, I'll show you some of the pictures I have shot with this camera. I mean, quality-wise, I really don't have any concerns about this camera. If anything's lacking, that's me as a photographer and not so much this camera. So that's great. Otherwise, what I do really like, it's really lightweight. It's a compact camera. It's pretty easy to hold as well, and it's sort of a great in between, something you'd carry along if you're just going for a walk and maybe something a bit more serious. So that overlap works really well as well with this camera, if that's what you're looking for. So yeah, that's a few things I really like about this camera. Overall, I mean, it just performs well. It's just a really good camera. Let's keep it at that. So onto the things I don't like so much about the Olympus E-M5 Mark III. The first one, and perhaps most important one to me, is that there's no battery grip for this. And at the time I didn't really realize how much of an issue that was to me, because I figured, well, how often do I really use tele lenses, you know, when you really want to have a sort of a bigger grip or counterweight to the lens? Not that often. So I thought it would be fine, doesn't really matter. There is actually an external grip for this one, which is the, let's see, why don't I ever prepare stuff like this? It's the ECG5, and it's this one. If you put it on it, gives you, well, actually a very nice solid grip. I have to say this works really well. This grip. It's very nice if you do longer walks, use it for a longer time during the day. But also, if you do a lot of portrait-oriented shots, which I actually do, it doesn't really help. There's no grip. The shutter button is extra hard to reach. So it doesn't really work that well in that way. And I have to say, it was sort of a mistake for me personally to think that the battery grip didn't really matter, because so often I have thought, oh, I wish this thing had a battery grip. Why isn't it there? I've looked all around, maybe for even third-party battery grips, but there's none for the E-M5 Mark III. So that's a real letdown for me. So that's the first thing I don't like about this camera. Otherwise, what I don't like, compared to other OMDs and even some of the pens and the like the first E-M5, it feels plasticky. The quality doesn't feel as good as some of the other cameras. So even though inside it's a great performing camera, really, it really is. For the outside, it feels a bit plasticky, maybe a bit cheaper, and that's something I don't really like. And I have to say, I mean, this is a weatherproof camera, so I'm not saying the outside isn't good or doesn't perform well, but it's just the way it feels. It's it's not great in that aspect. So that's another thing I don't really like. Otherwise, maybe if you put this next to an EM1, for example, then everything is a bit cluttered on the top. And I don't really mind that much because, usually I put these cameras on manual and just only, use the shutter speed and the exposure dials and click away, because I'm a really simple manual user. But I mean, it doesn't hurt if there's a bit more room to wiggle around with your fingers. So that's a third thing that I don't really like. And I guess that's about it. Otherwise, again, quality-wise, really a good camera. I really have no issues with it in that sense. But it feels a bit plasticky. Battery grip missing. It's really shitty. I don't know why they did it. It also has no contact points for it, so there's no way they could add it or whatever. So yeah, that's it. So in conclusion then, would I buy this again? I feel sorry for saying this because it is a good camera, and I'm really sorry, dear camera, but no, I would not buy this again. In hindsight, I would have gone for the EM1 Mark II because of all the reasons I just mentioned. That one has a battery grip. It doesn't have the plasticky outside, and it may be a bit more expensive, but then I should have saved a bit more. So no, as for this camera, I would not get it again. That said, it is still a great camera, and I do use it quite often. It was my main camera up until I got the EM1 Mark III that I'm now filming this with. And currently I mostly use that newer one and use the EM5 Mark III mostly for shooting video. So the previous video on the EP1 was shot on that. Obviously couldn't use it for this one because then I couldn't show you. But yeah, mostly video cam right now, and a second camera when I go out on hikes. But I wouldn't buy it again. So that's it for today with the Olympus E-M5 Mark III. I hope you enjoyed it and see you next time. Bye.